We are live at 5 on Endeavor BS, our happy hour. The Endeavor BS, the BS stands for Brewing and Spirits, and that's the only possible way to interpret that particular combination of letters. With us tonight, we have our own Sean Schultz.
Hello, everybody.
We also have Pat Murphy with us.
Thanks for having me.
And his lovely partner, Sarah.
Hi.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
So tonight we're just going to be sitting around BSing, drinking a couple beers, maybe a couple cocktails. We'll see what we get into. Why don't you guys give us a quick introduction? Tell us about yourselves.
Sure, I'll start. I'm Patrick, and I have been coming here for some time, back even before it was Endeavor, actually. Yeah. Sarah and I actually came here for one of our first dates.
Yeah, I think it was our second.
Yeah, we came here to watch United play Leicester at like 9 in the morning.
It was far earlier than
that. No, it wasn't. It was 9. And
at least felt earlier, right?
It felt so early.
Funny story, Sarah's ex-boyfriend is a big Tottenham fan. He showed up towards the end of the game because Tottenham played at 11. So it was like we just gotten to know each other. We're hanging out, and she's like, I think that's my ex-boyfriend that just walked in. So that was a fun start. But we kind of had our one of our first dates here. So a special place for us. But I do writing about the Crew. I do writing about Ohio State. And I do a lot of it here, actually. Not this past year, unfortunately, but before that, I did a lot of it here. Yeah,
let's just say that 2020 sucked, and we'll get back to the greatness. So as you're alluding to, we do a lot of soccer here at Endeavor Brewing and Spirits, and Pat works in that industry. He writes about football, some basketball too, as well as soccer for Bucknuts and Massive Report.
Yep.
And awesome stuff. His links are in the YouTube description, so follow all that, Twitter handle, boom, good stuff.
Yeah.
So Sarah.
I'm Sarah. I met Pat and have learned a lot about soccer and Endeavor since then. But outside of my Patrick life, I am a nurse. I work at the James in the ICU, and I used to be a travel nurse. I was a travel nurse when I met Pat. Lived in Colorado for a while. Lived in Chicago for a while. Really like mountains, so Endeavor theme.
Oh, Chicago. Yeah, wait.
Right. All those, urban mountains.
So we're going to definitely get into that, some travel nursing, and also talking about the pandemic and your experience with all that. Yeah. And the three of us have a good Colorado connection here as well. That we'll get into that as well. So we'll be talking some of the soccer, and of course we can't not talk about what's been happening with the crew rebrand and all that.
Still the Crew.
And so it's going to be kind of fun because, Pat is very much on the inside circle. I'm a huge fan. I have been for a long time. But you guys are both a little more on the outside. So getting that kind of outsider perspective is also sometimes more interesting, I think, than the people that are so close to it that sometimes we can't see, So we're going to get into all that. So, Sean, tell us about yourself, though.
Excellent. Well, thank you for what you do as a nurse there.
Thank you.
And anyway, myself, went to University of Colorado Boulder, as did you, Scott. And I'm primarily a sales representative here, so sell beer and liquor and fill in behind the bar. I'm the gopher. I wear a lot of different hats here.
If you kill all the gophers, I'll put you away.
And
there you go.
Excellent. I'm expecting a lot of dad jokes today, by the way.
We do a lot of dad jokes here. We also have some interesting sound effects here, so we can
drops. That's what they call them.
There.
In the biz.
So quick question though. So I also play a lot of music. I used to in a record store, ridiculous record collection, all that stuff. And Scott, did you create that theme song yourself, or was that taken?
No, that's music that we have royalty rights to as well. So we're doing that, but we did it basically from a database that you can download and purchase rights and royalty to as well.
I'm gonna make a new theme song.
But Sean, you can absolutely make us a new theme song, and we would love that. An original score, if you will. We did do this originally for when Cameron was on. Nerd alert. So it also applies to me often, but
sure,
cool.
Everyone's got some of that in them.
Clearly. So let's get into Colorado. Actually, we'll start with that. What brought you? So where were you in Colorado? What were you doing out there?
So I lived in Colorado Springs.
Nice.
I wanted to travel nurse. I'd never been out to the West. Not that Colorado's all the way as west as I thought it was. Found that out on my drive. And everybody had always talked about Denver, and I really wanted to get into the hiking scene. So I didn't want to live in Denver because I thought I would do the same thing I did here, which would be a lot of bars. So I moved to Colorado Springs intentionally and was very interested in like Garden of the Gods and the Incline and all that. And then I had friends in Denver, quick, 60-minute drive up. So spent a lot of time in Denver and then up in the Rocky Mountains. So I don't really know why I picked Denver. It just felt like the right place. And living in Colorado Springs was awesome.
Yeah.
So, and the hospitals were way, way different than here, which was very cool.
Yeah, how so?
Very small.
Okay.
Very small. I'm used to these like mega hospitals. I grew up outside of Cleveland, and so that's
Cleveland
where
Clinic, and
and that's like a whole zip code. And Ohio State's not far behind. So
Riverside too, massive.
Yeah.
They're all.
yeah, so
all
these were
together.
tiny hospitals. I think our unit had like 12 beds on it.
Wow.
That was it. So, yeah, it was different. But the lifestyle also very different. And I imagine college out there would have been so much fun. So,
Got some stories.
Oh yeah, we've got a few stories. So Sean's older brother was actually one of my best friends from college in Boulder, Colorado. So I've known Sean, and we know through a mutual friend too. So Nick, his brother, and I have climbed mountains all over the world together. We're climbing partners and hiking buddies and all that kind of stuff. And so I've known Sean for years through Nick, but we also share a love of Colorado and everything mountains. I'm going to be heading out there in a couple of weeks, actually.
Nice.
And my family's going to be out there basically the entire summer. So I'm going to be back and forth a few times.
Yeah, you have responsibilities here or something?
I've got a few, but I also have kids. And we're going to be out there. I'm going to be doing some adventures out there and some backpacking, like climbing, some stuff like that.
oh,
So
cool. We're going in a couple weeks, too.
when are you guys going to be
We're
out
going to
there?
be there the 3rd through the 8th of
Yeah,
June.
that first weekend.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to be in touch and see. So my parents have a place up in Evergreen, Colorado.
Oh, nice.
But my parents and my brother and all of our kids are going to be up there then.
Nice.
So it's going to be weird if I can get away and hang out or something. But we'll try.
Well, I see you here
True.
especially now that, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. Sweet.
That feels nice, right?
I know, right? We're slowly getting back to normalcy and with the vaccine and everything. So
Coming here to buy, alcohol, but not drinking it here, and the other stuff that you guys did during the pandemic.
Which was very impressive.
Yeah.
did a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, that was great, but I
It's
enjoyed
like a
coming
little
back
flea
here.
market in here. I
I
loved
know,
it.
right?
Yesterday, despite the result, watching the United Liverpool game with you and with people in the bar, because we tried to do it without people in the bar, and the United fans said no. That felt very normal, which was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's kind of a little backstory that I happen to be a big Liverpool supporter, and he happens to be a big Manchester United supporter, and those two don't get along, and we're not friends for 90 minutes during these matches, but we still talk some shit and go from there. But still appreciate you, and I think we can agree on that at least.
Yeah, that's a fair description, I think.
Fair enough.
I do like how during the pandemic you went just full Tyler Durden and started hand making soap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a good.
That is a good
nickname.
reference.
We should have used that.
Mr. Durden. Yeah. Tyler.
And the candles. Candles were great.
Beard oil. I know you
I did.
You rocked you
Oh
had the
my
pandemic
God.
beard.
Yeah.
You had one of the best pandemic beards, I think.
And now I don't know what to do
I
with
don't
the
think I
beard
gotta
oil.
see that.
Oh, I have pictures.
Oh, there's
I'll show
so
you.
many
Oh,
pictures.
I gotta see those.
Yeah.
There's a whole timeline. We should make like a slideshow.
Yeah,
like a
I
timeline
have pictures
slideshow.
throughout. Yeah, and then I have pictures of like the shaving process when I got rid of it as well. So
That's the most fun part about growing out a beard is everything you can do while you're shaving it down. Like you got to do the mutton chops. You got to have the big mustache. You got to.
yeah, one of my buddies got disappointed that I didn't just like keep like something ridiculous, and I was like, well, the whole point of because I started it just because I wasn't, I worked from home anyway, but I was not going to, we didn't have sports that I cover until basically the fall. There was some crew stuff for a while. There was like a 4-month break, but I wasn't, it was even before the Zoom calls that we do now, and so I wasn't seeing, anybody in any sort of professional sense. So I was like, well, let's just see how this goes, and Ethan McKinley, who I know you've had on here, obviously grew the Save the Crew beard, and he's my next door neighbor and a longtime friend. So it was like, he let his hair grow, I grew my beard, and we just kind of made a thing of it. And then once it started to look like, okay, we're going to be back to doing some things, I was like, well, probably time to shave it. And so that's why I didn't do anything too funky, outside of in the shaving process.
Sure.
I think it eclipsed all expectations.
It definitely did. I didn't know what would happen. And, I mean, I grow facial hair pretty easy, but I'd never let it go.
Let it go. Yeah. And I've never let it go to the extent that
I would
you
love
did.
to
It
see you
was-
let it go because you got some strong facial
I,
hair, my
I
friend.
have strong fur, that's for sure. And I've always had like this, scruff. Like since I was 17, 18 years old, I would just like let it get scruffy. And very rarely do I shave.
Uh-huh.
And I think the last time I shaved was my brother's wedding, which was, man, that was 2014.
Yeah, we're going to a wedding tomorrow, so that's why this is as low as it is. I actually had a teacher in middle of high school, so sophomore, junior year, that would get mad at me when I would not shave. And I was like, you're not my mom. This is high school. It wasn't anything inappropriate. It was, just like more scruff than a lot of people had at that point. And she would just call me out in the middle of class. But like anytime I'd rate, he'd be like, well, you didn't shave today, so I can't call it. And I'm like, it was a public school, it wasn't anything. It wasn't like I went to a private school where there were rules about this.
No
thing.
uniform?
No uniform.
I feel like you have to embrace like whatever you can do with the facial hair, especially the older you can get, the more you want to play with it,
Right.
because you're going to lose that up top. So you got to get a little fun with the facial hair.
Sure.
I think the craziest thing I ever did, there's this April holiday that people celebrate, especially out in Colorado. And
Is that on the 20th?
it is actually, yes. And I, for the very first one when I was in college, I had grown out a big giant beard just for the point of, right during the holiday, shaving so I had one side of my mustache big and then the other side of my goatee. And that was what I rocked that day. And you know what? I fit right in.
I bet those are awesome photos.
I don't see this is a time before like that social
fair
media
enough.
was over everything. So
Right.
those are rare. You got
Fair
to
enough.
dig for those.
We
Yeah.
might have to recreate that.
I can do it someday. For a crew game, I'll do like a yellow how about a yellow goatee and a black mustache, something stupid like that.
Fantastic. Yeah, that'd be
Well,
amazing.
you have to hope that the colors stay the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I did rock these today just
never
for this
know.
podcast. Was these yellow?
Oh,
Adidas
yeah.
Oh, nice.
that I
Oh,
rocked.
yellow
Yeah, I
shoes
keep
are
calling them
way.
my crew shoes right now. Now he actually has some straight up crew shoes.
Yeah, I have ones that say Crew SC on them. So years ago, Adidas was doing like a
He was ahead of the-
Samba program. So I got two, one that's red and white and says YNDA, and the other is black and gold and says Crew SC on the side.
Very nice.
And
Half of those are
yeah,
nice.
Really, he's been manipulating this whole thing from the get go 5 years ago.
pulling the strings and the machinations. Yeah, I've been considering doing the monkey tail. Have you guys seen that? Where it literally like wraps around your face.
Oh, wow.
So it's like
Wow.
But then they stripe it. They'll stripe.
there's
some people
multiple
stripe
patterns.
it.
Like some people dye them and like So I don't know that I'd go that far. But maybe just shaving
I would like to see you do the monkey tail.
the tail that goes right into the sideburn. So
My dad had a mustache for pretty much as long as I was growing up. And then he and my mom went up to, we have a family house up in Michigan that he's one of 9 children, so it gets like shared during the summer. And they went up there and he came back and had shaved his mustache. And it was the strangest thing. Like, you'd think that something that simple, like it was just a normal mustache, nothing crazy. But it was so, like, we couldn't look at him as kid. Like, we were like, you look so weird right now. And
It's like when you see somebody in like contacts for the first time. You've never seen him in contacts before.
oh yeah, without the glasses. Yeah. It was very strange. I have like a vivid memory of him getting out of the car and like them asking us to come like help unload the car in the driveway, and I'm like, what did you do?
My mom has like naturally curly hair, just always has. That's all I can picture her as. And one day, like 8 years ago, she showed up and just decided to just straighten it. And it was the most bizarro moment. Like I was just like, I know that's my mom, but I don't feel like it.
Right.
It's like when
Right,
did
yes.
I slam my head really hard before I opened the door? Like what's going on here?
Like a body snatchers moment.
Yeah.
What happened here?
Yeah. My daughter Monroe, who's a little over a year, she was a leap day baby, and she has this kind of fear of mustaches.
Oh, how
We've
funny.
discovered where like she just like gets kind of weirded out by people with mustaches. So my brother-in-law Mike came over the other day, and he had this kind of dirty mustache shaved in. He's kind of the guy that has like the patchy goatee kind of look and
Yeah.
doesn't have, and he had it like kind of rocking, and she normally loves him, and she was just kind of freaked out by it. It was
Did
pretty
he
funny.
take it personally?
He was deeply offended.
Do you feel like we've just reached that point in our evolution where finally we've ingrained it in our DNA? Like your daughters know, just watch out for the guy with the mustache.
And I think it's actually probably a good thing. I'm not gonna discourage her fear of the mustache. It's, beware candy vans and beware mustaches, and just road, don't go near them.
With a leap year baby, how are you guys planning on handling that? I assume you talked about it.
Yeah, when we found out that we were having a kid, I think our official due date was like March 2nd or 3rd, or it was real close. And then I realized early on it was a leap year. Yeah. So I got really excited about the possibility of having a leap baby. Like, people either love it or they hate it, and I kind of loved it. So we're gonna see. We're gonna obviously let her do her own thing. And then for the first couple years, it doesn't really matter anyway, because, honestly, you celebrate the birthday on whatever Saturday or Sunday is most convenient for family, whenever that birthday is going to happen. So even if it's on a Wednesday, you're going to celebrate the next Friday or Saturday.
Right.
So that's what's going to happen the first few years. But I figure starting when she gets a little older, I remember as a kid, I have a fall birthday, but my brother has a summer birthday. So I always wanted the pool party, but he always wanted the pumpkin patch party. And so there's different things you can do different times a year. And I think the cool thing to do would be, when she gets a little older, when birthdays are fun and cool, let her choose any date during the whole calendar year to do the thing she wants to do and celebrate her birthday on that day.
Do you know how they handle like driver's license? I mean, I assume it's just that year that it would have been if you'd been, but like, how do you pick the date for like your driver's license? Or like turning 21, like how, I don't know how that works. I've never thought about this.
I assume it's like the day before or the day after your birthday is when it's due or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question.
We're going to help her 4 times as long as the average person.
Well, because like the driver's license thing, I know a lot of people that didn't get their driver's license on their actual birthday. But like turning 21, most people go out to the bars and, to each their own if people chose not to do that. But like a lot of people, that's what they do on their, midnight of their 21st birthday. So I'm interested. When she gets there, let me know. Yeah,
we can help that out. Actually, for a couple of days before she was born, we just became a distillery, and I filled up a 5-gallon barrel of whiskey, of malt whiskey, Scottish whiskey style that I made. I filled up one for her and one for Fitz, my son, as their 21st birthday gifts.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of fun, right?
They have no idea how cool their lives are going to be.
We'll see. They'll probably not want to drink at all, and that's fine. I'll give them a hug. But
well, then you can drink.
Then I'll just drink it for it. So it's funny though, because with the leap day thing, a lot of people think, oh, you're not that old, but I mean, she's still, when she's 21, she will be 21 years old.
Correct.
But she will have only had X number of birthdays. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, depending on how you say it, it's accurate or not accurate. So I think her driver's license will probably still say February 29th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just have to kind of do that math, and when it's midnight of the 28th, well then,
well,
and if it's a leap year or not.
I imagine if you got pulled over, for instance, and it said the 29th, the officer pulling you over probably isn't doing the math, or isn't like thinking like, wait a second, yeah, like you're only what?
You're 4 years old.
Math is not my strength. So I mean, I don't think that'll ever be a problem. But yeah, I'm just curious. I know of people that have leap year birthdays.
I don't think I do. I don't think I know a single leap baby other
Taylor
than yours.
Twellman. He's a leap year baby.
No way. Okay. Yeah, the younger sister of a guy I went to high school with, Karen, she was a leap day baby. So her nickname was Frog growing up.
Oh, that's incredible.
Right? Yeah. Kind of fun.
I support that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So we'll see how that goes. I can't wait to meet the little woman that she's going to be when she gets a little older. When we were in the hospital, I remember I looked up to in national news, there was some lady who was 84 years old in the nursing home that threw herself a 21st birthday party. So she had like Jell-O shots and Mardi Gras beads and like the whole like stupid stuff in the nursing home because that was her 21st birthday, even though she was 84 years old.
So there was... So the only person I've ever known with a leap year birthday has passed away since, but it was just like that. Her 84th birthday had like 21st birthday. Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I had never even thought of that.
Yeah, I don't.
That's amazing.
So I really hope Monroe does that. Maybe with the last bottle of that
there you go.
Whiskey.
For her 21st
I think
birthday.
Just for my 84th birthday, I'm, hopefully we last that long. I'm going to just do that. Just 'cause.
pretend you're elite, baby.
Yeah, just, if I was, this would be my 21st birthday in whatever year that would be.
I think the nursing home will support that.
Yeah.
Maths. Nerd alert. See, that was a well-timed drop, right? Good job. That's awesome. So let's get into the crew stuff just a little bit, just to kind of get that out of the way. So first of all, let me ask you guys what you have heard about the crew rebrand.
So, I mean, I live with an insider.
We haven't talked about it that much.
We really haven't. I guess by living with an insider, I mean, I knew that, like, something was happening and people were upset. And he was suddenly on, like, phone calls and there was meetings and, he's listening in on things. And it was a lot of tension. I think there was tension. I felt tension. And I'm also live next door to Ethan McKinley.
Yeah. Don't you guys share an attic space?
We sure
you can
do.
creepily go between. Yeah.
We have a lock on our side.
Yeah, it's difficult to get through. I tried to get through when they first moved in there, and you have to, like, the landlord has so it's basically like you would walk up into the attic, but the landlord put, like, a door or, like, a door size, like, piece of something
Plywood.
over it, so, like, it's a ceiling. Yeah. So you have to, like, push that up, which is a lot harder than you expect, and then lifting it.
But don't
on the
worry,
other
he
side.
did it.
Oh, I did it. I spent an afternoon.
He made it to the other side of the attic.
Well, and then it was
on
locked.
Halloween.
No, this was like once they'd signed the lease, so I wasn't breaking into somebody's house. I didn't know.
Okay, yeah. It's kind of like you find the ring to Narnia up there.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Anyway.
With some cleaning, it could be very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Continue.
But yes, living next door to Ethan, I mean, heard some things that, things were not going well. We were concerned. And then, news officially broke. And as an outsider, I had to really, like, think about it. Like, I guess this does matter a lot. They just did this whole grassroots movement of, like, saving the crew. And off of all of that, I don't know, that support and that momentum, like, feels like a weird time to change your name and move some things around. So it has been very confusing to me. I don't know that I feel like the deep hurt and betrayal of, like, a lifelong fan, but I feel like it's a very bad business move from just, like, a surface level understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, for me, I have a theory. If you guys want to hear, I'll paint you a little picture. Now, see, one of my favorite things about the crew is, like, the logo that they've built around everything that it represents. In addition to the fact that Save the Crew, like that, as you're saying, that whole movement, the crew is part of that name, and that, like, there's a heart to that, and, like, part of that heart that belongs to the championship team that we have. And again, I'm a total outsider, so I have no skin in this game, but I think that's absolutely ridiculous. So here's what I think happened. So it's a dark and stormy night.
Of course.
There's big,
Well timed.
These drops are top notch.
They're well planned. Of course, we've been over this script several times. We rehearsed for hours and hours before this. Yeah.
So, okay, dark and stormy night. You got a big office building, floor-to-ceiling windows, a type of long table that you'd have at GM with just the old boys all sitting around. And at the very end, you have this guy just pitching his heart out about why you should save the crew, why you need the crew as part of this name. You can't change that. And after he gets through his big pitch, guy at the front end steps up. He says, "Okay, Tom, well, that's very nice. Exit stage right." As soon as that door closes, he walks out. He's like, "Okay, guys, I'd like to introduce you to our new head of marketing, Bono from U2." And Bono from U2 walks in. And he says, "Okay." And I'm not even going to try to do a Bono accent. No, I'm not going to do a good job at it. It might offend, some of our British folks,
Irish, yeah.
Or whatever, European. Yeah. Sorry, I did know that, but okay, I'm just gonna stick with what I said. So, anyway, he's gonna come in and he's gonna say, "Hey, I know what we need to do for this rebranding. Here's how it goes. I released an album called Songs of Innocence in 2014. Obviously, the greatest piece of music known to mankind, and." How did I do it? Did I have people choose it? Did I have people weigh in or even buy the album if they wanted? No. I forced iTunes to immediately upload it to everybody's iTunes. And they have it, and now they love it. And it was just a great success, and I'm the greatest.
Do they love it though?
And then he says...
They all know it. You got to say that.
So-
I do know it was
always
on my
comes
phone.
on when my car automatically connects. It
Yep.
just starts playing randomly
yeah.
sometimes, and then I have to switch it over to the music I actually listen to.
You know you can delete it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
if you
not
don't,
sure you can.
you can't. I don't have it.
it's like Bono. He always keeps coming back.
And he says, we need to have something slick, something like U2. So maybe we choose S and 2 letter of the alphabet, SB, soccer ball. And he's like, no, Bono, that's bad. Come on, something more European. And he's like, soccer club, SC. And, yeah. Money falls from the ceiling like confetti. All of the big wigs sitting at the office table in their suits, cowboy hats, smoking cigars, say, brilliant. And the next day, your app changes and you have to look at that stupid-ass logo they came up with.
That's a fascinating theory.
Yeah, let me tell you.
I don't know. So, I don't know that it's fact. I just know it's true.
Well, the office room there is not as you depicted it because it's a stadium that was built in 1999 in like 6 months. So they didn't have
It's an erector set with concrete, basically. Yeah.
As another outsider theory, the C from the Haslams, Cleveland, Cavs.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of C's in Ohio already.
I know.
There's a lot of C words in Ohio.
But yeah, one of my coworkers and I were having a discussion about, are they trying to brand this as more of like a Cleveland friendly team, which would be a mistake. No connection to Cleveland other than the Haslams.
I thought they were just trying
And
to sound
and
more
Josh
European.
Williams.
Put
And
Columbus.
Josh Williams, of course.
Joshua, yeah. Put
But he's
Columbus
from
on
Canton, right?
Yeah, but it's all up there.
It's all
That's not
C's.
Cleveland.
All the big cities in Ohio are C's, It's weird.
Feels that way.
But it's funny because they took the C word that was the
Not
4-letter C
Toledo.
word and are trying to get rid of it. Well, yeah, but the big cities,
Big cities.
the important cities, the cities that don't suck. Just apologies to Toledo and to Dayton and Akron.
Akron, yeah.
Akron's eclipsed by Cleveland. Welcome to my childhood.
According to Sarah's family, who continuously refers to the fact that they're from Cleveland when they're not.
Where are you from?
To be fair, it is directly between Cleveland and Akron.
it's close
20
enough.
minutes from either downtown. He didn't grow up. What does he know?
He didn't grow up. He's still a child.
That is an accurate statement.
And are you from Toledo?
No, I'm from St. Louis and then here.
Oh,
So
right on. Yeah.
That is hard. He's a UA boy.
yeah, she went to Nordonia High School,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, it is in between.
Our
Cleveland
claim to
and Akron.
fame is Denzel Ward,
Oh, yeah.
who
yeah,
is
for sure.
now a Brown.
That's
a Pro
good
Bowler,
claim.
in fact.
It's a
so
great claim to fame. Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah, it's just the most suburban town ever. It's got all of the fast food, all of the chain stores that you could imagine, strip malls galore.
Radio Shack still exists.
Oh, I think we may have one of the last. We maybe had one of the last Blockbuster.
Blockbuster. Yeah, I think the last one was in Bend, Oregon, right?
Yes, yes, it
Right,
was. Which
yeah.
we were talking about
It's-
yesterday.
Yeah, which is
actually.
the coolest town ever, by the way. Hey, Josh, if you're watching, sweet place. Do you still have a Rax up there, by any chance?
Ooh, Rax is good.
Rex is good.
Way better than Arby's.
I don't think we do. That may have been one we never had.
There used to be one right here on Fifth Avenue when I was a kid.
There's one over off like Reed Road and Henderson-ish area there.
Okay.
Like, I know those don't exactly cross, but somewhere between Reed and Henderson. Yeah.
I know there's still one down in Logan, Ohio.
I don't
And I
believe
think
you.
Lancaster as well. I'm pretty sure they still exist. At least as of a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, they existed. Seriously, we should take a road trip down and get some Rax.
I feel like it's going to be a little lackluster. Like your memories might be building that up more than it's worth.
Probably. It's basically Arby's, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a new criteria, like pre-pandemic, post-pandemic world.
The closest
Yeah.
one is in Lancaster,
Okay, there you go. And Logan
then-
is just down the road, right?
and then Circleville.
I don't know if I trust your phone. We already got greased on Dada Empanada's like ghost ship down on campus. I was like, oh, they did move. They do exist. And I see people like sitting outside of that place eating something else at their table. Apparently, we tried to go get them this week and they were closed.
All right, well, according to Google,
It's hard to find a good empanada.
It is hard to find a good empanada. So I lived in Chile for 4 years, and I love empanadas, by the way. And there's like a huge like Peruvian, Chilean, Argentine empanada battle almost amongst many, many other things, there's a Pisco argument between, Chile and Peru, but the empanadas are absolutely fantastic. And I hate the fact that you can't just get them everywhere and anywhere you go here in the
Feels
US.
like everywhere should have a good empanada shop. It's a really easy grab and go situation.
There's a place, Tyler Kendall, who is one of the Big Crew supporters, for the first away game, actually got some delivered here. I will have to check with him what the name of it. It was not close. I remember it was like up in Hilliard or something that it was delivered from. Him and his wife got it delivered. But they were like, yeah, they're great, and these are the best ones to order. And like they were really excited about them. And then when they got here, they smelled really good.
I'll drive to Hilliard for an empanada right now.
Yeah, I mean, they delivered it to here, so you can just do that.
We'll be off here in about an hour or so maybe we should just do
I will,
empanadas, so.
Are they on DoorDash?
I will look into that for you, because they were raving about them.
Please do. I can message Tyler as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know, and he's
can
a
ask
super foodie too. So I mean, Tyler's like a chef almost. You know what I mean? Like he's just always in the kitchen and posting about his creations and stuff. So that's cool. Yeah, always on the lookout for a good empanada.
And yeah, so back to the crew. I didn't mean to go too far off topic there, but that's sort of
Sean, leaving the script.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What happened with the crew, but that's sort of how far outside the bubble I am.
It's probably not too far. I mean, I don't know if Bono was there.
He was there.
It's probably
What percentage
not too far.
do you put on Bono having been there?
I 2.5%. I could see him having like that much investment in the crew, and you just not knowing it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's like LeBron in Liverpool.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a public investor, so
Just a
I
small amount.
didn't know that. See, that surprised me right there.
Yeah,
Like,
LeBron James is
you
a
could look at like the
part of it.
actual face reaction on the YouTube.
He
link.
actually recently, I think, increased because he
Yeah.
invested more heavily in
The
Fenway
Red Sox,
Sports
yeah,
Group,
yeah.
which owns the Red Sox as well.
Which is a weird move. I know this isn't anything that most people are listening to care about, but
I'm intrigued.
I'm a Lakers fan, so this involves me. And he was obviously big for the Cavs, but a weird move from a guy from Cleveland who played in Miami and then in LA after Cleveland again, to invest in Boston related sports. Like none of those cities are fans of Boston. Miami probably. I mean, most people in Miami don't care about sports, so I guess that's fine. But like Cleveland, in multiple sports, have had issues with Boston, and obviously playing for the Lakers, that's a big no-no. So, interesting move. But he has done his share with Liverpool. I mean, he's been out there, and there's stuff with him and the players and stuff like that. So he's supported soccer in
Is
general.
he an investor in Liverpool only because of the big group, or did he like seek out Liverpool?
No, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know the inner workings of that, but he was a part owner investor in Liverpool after Fenway Sports Group and John Henry had purchased Liverpool. So
Okay.
somehow they worked that out. But then just this last year, he converted some of those shares and became a larger investor in Fenway Sports Group,
Okay.
but like gave up his individual shares in the Liverpool project. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but that's kind of the theory of like he stepped back from just the shares in Liverpool, but converted them into a larger
The bigger
share. And I think put some more money in as well. So.
Okay. Have you thought about direct tweeting him that maybe he needs to know about Man U?
I think LeBron's busy enough trying to get healthy.
Does
right
he
now.
know you're a Lakers
Why
fan?
don't we just give him a call? We can patch him right in. I mean, I'm sure you have his number, right?
Is he on next week?
Well, yeah, I think he's on 2 weeks from today.
I do
He's a busy
want
guy.
to ask him what the new Space Jam's about, and if you haven't seen the trailer,
Yes.
I felt like
hot
I was
messes
on
did
acid. Oh my god, it
Did you
didn't
see
make
what
any
came out
sense to me.
today?
No.
Michael Jordan apparently is Don Cheadle said he's
Involved?
going to make an appearance.
Okay, let's just make it weirder.
Yeah.
Let's make it
I mean,
weirder.
Let's do it.
they've already got these
get
guys.
weird.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I didn't think the trailer looked terrible. Like I thought it looked interesting.
It made. Come on, you saw the first.
Oh, it doesn't
movie.
make sense.
It
Makes
made no sense.
No. I don't think. I mean, but like if I was an adult watching the movie, if I were me watching the movie today, the first movie today, like. I mean, I'll wait to see what the plot is, but that
Well,
movie's
that's the
wacky.
magic of the second one is none of us care what the plot is. It's the second Space
And
Jam.
neither do the
You're probably
kids.
going to watch it. And yeah, kids are going to watch it anyway. But I'm saying you got a whole nother generation. You're just pulling right in.
The best thing about this movie coming out is that Sarah and I went as Babs and Lola Bunny for Halloween a few years ago.
We did.
And so now we can
It was
update those
adorable.
costumes. Like, I don't even have to think about a Halloween costume this year. We can just update those costumes with, I assume they'll sell those new jerseys. And
Yeah.
I still have the rest of the stuff. So
True.
I don't know if I have bunny ears.
you gonna be
Stuff the
LeBron?
cottontail.
I will not
Well,
be LeBron.
then, I mean, you probably have this. We
have
probably
videos.
have this a lot where people mistake us as LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, the
'Cause,
height
we're
is
7 foot tall. Yeah, it's just the height is clearly the thing that people always mistake us as. 'Cause
My hairline.
if you didn't know this, both Pat and I are rather short human beings, so it's pretty funny. You're
I
a
think you guys
daywalker,
are pretty
but-
tall.
Well, clearly.
Well, Sarah is also a short human being, but more relatively
I
accurate.
heard
for a
5'1"
girl.
was normal for a girl.
Yeah.
I've heard many things. Quick reorder for drinks. What are you guys drinking?
What's your favorite cocktail on the menu?
Ooh, mine is the Fireside, which is a smoked whiskey
Okay.
cocktail. They actually
Honey Badger
is fantastic and probably more appropriate for the day.
All right. I'm
Honey
gonna
Badger?
Badger it up.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Honey Badger don't care.
Honey Badger. So that's one of our cocktails. It's on the menu right now. We also have the that Hansel's so hot right now, or that Rumsel's so hot right now, and the other
It's a
favorite is
great name.
the mojito style drink. That's the mint rumney, as well.
That's also a great name.
Pretty funny. We got
Keep
some good
forgetting you
names going.
changed that.
Oh yeah, we dad jokes. What are you drinking, Pat?
I'll do a Nordic beer.
Okay. The Nordic. So we did a partnership beer with the Nordic people. So when Ethan was on here, it was our first ever Endeavor BS, Brewing and Spirits, not something else. Joe and Ethan were on, and we were talking about the Nordic beer release and all that, and a portion from every can of that goes to the charity linked with the Nordic and stuff. So
Very
really
cool.
cool beer.
And
It's
the
a-
cans are awesome.
Yeah, awesome can. So go back and watch that episode, and Ethan actually goes through and for like 5 minutes breaks down all of the Easter eggs in the can artwork and stuff. It's kind of funny watching him find them and talk about them.
That had to be fun.
It was pretty-
I
yeah, it was a
noticed.
fun
I
episode.
noticed the Gumby thing on there. I'm like, that's Austin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, Austin was Gambino for a while. He wasn't the original. I think was that
It's Ethan's
Ethan was the
costume.
original
Ethan,
Gambino.
yeah.
and
I don't
then
know who
Austin-
wore it first, but it was in the back of Ethan's trunk, and that's how that.
And
There've
I
been
just
a
know that
dozen
Austin used
Gambinos
to have
over
it in
the
his
years.
car, and
For
so that's
sure.
who I think of when I
Austin
see it.
still may have it. I haven't seen it.
He does have it. He wore it. Somebody I saw said he wore it to one of the games.
Oh, okay.
I think he does still own it, yeah. And one of the first career games I ever went to.
I'm pretty sure Ethan's
I-
watching, by the way, because he
Oh,
sent a text
perfect.
message to me a little while ago that looked like he was watching.
Very cool. Very cool.
One of the first career games I ever went to, Pat was obviously covering the game.
Yeah.
Drop F's like, yo, find my friends. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. This will be fine. Everything's fine. And
We're gonna have to have Ethan and Allison on again sometime and talk about Shakespeare in the park and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
went. Yeah, we're gonna do that again here post pandemic, as you said.
yes.
Sean, what are you drinking?
A Nordeca. Yeah, definitely.
I'm just gonna make it easy and say 3 Nordeca, please. So sending that off, and hopefully we'll get that delivery pretty soon. Cool.
This is first class service.
I know, right? Service with a smile. So Pat, what's your whole take? What's your observation on
What's your theory?
the team formerly known as the Crew?
Yeah, well, I think it was a very strange move. Like Sarah said, my biggest thing is the timing of all this. So you had an extended offseason because they had a CBA issue and they pushed back the kickoff of the season over a month. So if you wanted to announce a rebrand, there was ample time to do that. And my original impression was, okay, they were going to announce it now for whatever reason, and then it would take effect next year, which it will for the players wearing the jerseys. Those still have the circle crest. But if you watched the game on Saturday or on Wednesday, it's now on the scoreboard or scorebug.
The warm up jackets.
It wasn't. I didn't even notice that.
I saw some. Yeah.
Okay,
They had that
and
going
it's
around.
it's they've posted it all around Columbus and things like that.
There's a mural downtown.
Yeah, right.
Billboard up. Yeah, it's great.
So I mean this, and obviously they had this planned as like a whole rollout, right? So it was going to be throughout this past week. They were going to release it on Tuesday. They ended up, because it leaked, doing it on Monday just to get it out. I was very confused by the timing, and I was also just, and anyone who is a Crew fan obviously already knows a lot of this, but like the reaction was bad before they announced it, and even before it leaked. I mean, there was, two of the top Nordic guys And I don't know, I'm not going to give any names because I don't know who's under what, but this has come out in ESPN and stuff.
The Atlantic had an article about the non-disclosure agreements and everything that was signed at a meeting.
But they saw it in January and were very clear that this was, one of them wrote an 18-page paper, which has since circulated on social media, about like, this is not going to go well. If you're going to, and then, 18 pages, there was a lot of information in that about, basically just explain why this won't go well. And that was in January. And, they had been working on this for, from my understanding, like 2 years. So I understand them being really invested. And then by them, I mean the ownership. And I do very much think that, when the Haslams took over, they wanted to put their stamp on this team, right? It had obviously been 20 plus years. There was history, and the logo that I think of as still the current logo, the circle with the checkered board and everything,
was from an individual's group who we had to run out of town.
Yeah, right.
And so there's that bad blood history too.
Right, and I think that they thought that was something that people wanted. Let's completely remove ourselves from that. But if there's two things that Anthony Precourt did well during his time here, it was hiring Greg Berhalter, who is now the men's national team coach, and took this team, despite a significantly smaller budget than now, to a championship game. And that logo, which I've heard different things, may or may not have already been in the works before he purchased the team. Regardless, it came out under that ownership, so deserved credit there. But yeah, so if this was just we need to put our stamp on it, there were other ways you could have done that. And again, coming out with it mid-season.
Simply the act of saving the crew, put your stamp on it.
Yeah, well, I haven't even gotten to changing the name.
Biggest stamp, yeah.
If you go back and look at the old crew logo, like the first one.
The hard hats, 3 hard hat guys.
Right.
We've got one on the board that used to hang in the crew locker room in our hallway, actually.
I can't even picture that.
So it's in our hallway, going back to the restrooms on the left. There's the whiteboard that used to hang in the crew's locker room. And it was funny because
it's the calendar, right?
Yeah, it's the calendar. And when they first released the new logo, people hated it too. Well, and there was this big backlash to it and blah, 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 blah.
I think the backlash to that was more that from my memory of it, was that you added SC to the name, which people thought was dumb. And then they kind of forced that, we're Crew SC, we're Crew SC. Now, I'm sure there are people that didn't like it at the time. And I'm sure that this logo, however long it lasts, will grow on people to some degree. But
I think changing of a logo in general is always a tough sell.
And is the biggest issue the logo, like how it looks, which I have my own opinion, or is it about the removal of crew?
Correct. Yes. I think the logo people, if it had
Although from an outsider standpoint, it's not a great looking
No.
logo.
No, it's not.
I've not heard a single person say they like the logo.
Yeah, I had a friend texting me today that he liked it, but I think he may have just been
a Bono fan?
Being a dingus, yeah.
Big YouTube guy.
Yeah, I think if this
Big
logo
YouTube?
I think if this logo had like Columbus Crew on, Columbus on the top, the Crew on the bottom instead of SC, and it's still, I think people still would have been like, it looks dumb, because that's the reaction I've gotten from a lot of people. But I think it would have been
accepted.
Yes, like, okay, we don't fully support this, but the backlash wouldn't have been as much. And I think
it doesn't feel like a stab in the back situation.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's the third kind of thing here is that they came in with this message, the new ownership, of we want fan involvement, we want to include you guys in everything, and there's been some of that, not as much as I think people thought, and then this happens, and it's like we keep bringing up Ethan, but he was the tifo czar of the Nordic, creating, even back to Save the Crew, creating a lot of the banners and stuff that you saw and got sent around to teams all over the world, and did a lot of hard work on that. And, he, one of, if not the most passionate Crew fans I know, not to take anything away from anyone else, but,
I
he
think
resigned.
We should put him in a ring and have them fight that out.
There you go.
My money's on Ethan because he's right there. Yeah.
But he resigned from that position because he just felt like this was the last straw with this ownership of, okay, you keep promising these things to work with us, but it's been a lot of, when you need us, we need to be on call as opposed to working together. And I know that was a frustration that spilled over, not with just him, with a lot of people.
I also think on social media, a couple of the supporter groups, as well as like the general Nordeck, put out statements, and I thought the GCG bag statement was very well said. It was more of like, we're disappointed and we feel, turned against because these are the things you're saying and your actions aren't speaking to those.
Well, and the biggest thing too is this fan base already doesn't trust ownership because of what happened under Anthony Precourt and trying to move the team. So like, this coming in, you're aware of kind of that mistrust, and to, not include, and, they've made the statement that 3,000 people, 2,500, depending on which were included. I don't know if that was, it seems to me that number is used from various surveys and talking to some people, but not specifically talking to them about, meetings about the stadium that they had with people where, they asked questions about like, well, if we were to do this, like general questions about the team that then were used to help make the decision about this. It is kind of my understanding, and I don't know that factually, but from people I've talked to that, have been a part of some of those. So, it was PTSD for a lot of people of like, this is what happened before. And by no means do I think the Haslams are planning on moving the team or anything like that. Pete Edwards is a part of this, and that won't happen. But, you can understand where these fans are coming from, and I think it's very clear, especially when you end up with something. Thank you. Something like
Thanks,
that.
Miles.
I don't know if it was it wasn't an upgrade, and so I can understand the frustration on all those fronts.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a crazy situation all around. So
beautiful
Miles
drink.
is bringing us a beautiful honey badger drink and a couple of Nordeck beers. I'm gonna hand you that too, if you don't mind. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. It's even in a fancy glass.
I know, it's a fancy goop.
Tastes like Nordeck.
I actually heard recently when people cheers,
Mm-hmm.
if you are intended to look the people you're cheersing in the eye and then tap the table, or it's bad luck. And I have so much bad luck.
Well, there's a lot of things with that. So the cheers originated from basically you're spilling your drink in somebody else's drink as a means of trust to know that they're not poisoning you. And then
It's kind of like shaking hands to
I
dislodge
haven't
any
heard that.
weapons
That's
that might be
incredible.
hiding up the sleeve or something like that. Yeah, it's
Wow.
now
or skull cheering to
I
the
s-
skulls of your dead enemies.
I specifically don't hit my glass against the table because I was told when I was in Europe that the Nazis did that and the Europeans associated with that. I don't know if that's true, but I specifically don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to distance yourself from Nazis?
I know. My German heritage just gleaming through right
The
now.
Schultz coming out. Yeah, no, clearly, I think that's a wise move.
Yeah, I'm just taking a
Across
little
the board.
step back.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's like, empathizes with Nazis, you're kind of skeptical about.
Sure.
But, here in the States, they say that tapping the bar is respect to the location and the service staff.
Oh.
So you're kind of, it's a cheers to your group. You look them in the eye. That's very much like, so in Latin America, they're very much look each other in the eye and kind of European in that sense too. And that makes sense. As Americans, we don't, whatever. But then you touch the bar
It's a
as a
tribute to the
nod to the location and the service staff. And so that's kind of like,
Did you just make that up so that we would do that here?
well, it's called Endeavor BS, Pat. Yeah, so nod to Endeavor. And nod to this room, actually. So the fun fact is this is the room where the crew was saved.
Yeah.
That we're sitting in right now. This is where Save the Crew met every single day for more than a year. So our place has been as invested in this story, as much as anything, really. It's kind of crazy.
It's definitely tied up with the identity of this brewery.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I remember
100%.
sitting here the day that everything got announced. And I mean, we were at home,
The
and
good
he
day
was
you're
like,
talking about.
yeah, the
Yeah.
good day,
At the
the good
end,
day.
yeah.
I was
The
hired 2 weeks before that.
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, Scott's like, it's going to be a day. Like, he calls me on my drive, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like within like 30 minutes of being here, there was like,
50 people in your bathroom.
oh no, like over 1,000 people in this.
It was
friend
So
house.
many people
Do you
here.
want to tell our story on that day?
It was my birthday. by the way.
Oh, was it really?
Did I tell you guys? Yeah, it was my 40th birthday, and I spent most of the day washing glasses. It was the best
It
birthday
was
I've
a
ever
decade birthday, too?
had. Yeah, exactly.
What a great
But yeah,
40th.
tell your story.
So we were at home.
Ba-dum-ching.
He got some kind of something, some inner circle something about things are going to happen today. So we have to go to Endeavor. Okay. I was off that day, thankfully. And I think I maybe had worked the night before. I'm a night shifter. And I think I maybe had worked the night before.
Well, you were off that day because of what we were supposed to do that night.
We had a wedding that night.
In Cincinnati.
For one of his, like, best friends.
You didn't make it?
Oh, we made it.
It was close, Sean.
I
It was close.
I texted her and was like, and she is not a Crew fan. She came to a couple Crew games in college, and the way she made it through them was drinking so much that she didn't remember them.
He texted, that's right, she's a girl. So he texted the bride on her wedding day, afternoon, and was like, hey, cool if we don't make it to your wedding?
I explained it. She understood to some degree.
She did not respond. We have no idea.
She did
if
respond. She did
understood.
respond. But no, we went to the wedding. We drove down to Cincinnati. We actually had 3 friends from Chicago that met us at the wedding, and we were all supposed to stay down there. We had a hotel and everything, and we stayed for the wedding and the reception, which was all in the same place, for part of the reception. And
Previously to this, we were in this tap room, and it was like minutes. I was like, if we don't leave in the next 15 minutes, we aren't going to make it to this wedding. So you need to decide.
Yeah, I
and
changed
it was
in
a
the
tough
car
situation.
when we got there. And like on the way down, I'm like trying to, because it had come out, but there was nothing official yet from the team. So I'm sitting there on my computer while she's driving, which is a normal occurrence, but and trying to get in touch with people and things like that. And so we went to the wedding, we went to the reception.
Shotgun beers on our way into the wedding.
We did do that, yep. And then I convinced the people from Chicago that we should just come back to Columbus.
Because it was going to be a rager.
Right. One of them who is a Crew fan. The other one is one of my good friends who's come to multiple Crew games, but was never a big soccer. He's a big sports guy, but was never a big soccer guy. And then
Who also this entire evening at the wedding was planning on asking Pat to be in his wedding. And so when Pat is like minorly disrespecting this whole wedding, he's like,
I didn't even
you
know
have
that.
to respect. Oh yeah. He's like, you have to respect this wedding. Why won't you stay? Do you know how expensive these receptions are? You have to stay.
we did.
And yeah.
But then we got back and we came here. There weren't a ton of people here at that point. It was
Pretty late.
It wasn't that. I mean, it was probably.
It's probably 10.
I think it was later than that, but it was. There were still people here for sure, but
I
it
was
wasn't.
like, I remember 10. It was still full.
Yeah, no, this is,
You might be talking like midnight.
Yeah,
It
this is
starts
closer to
slowing down.
Midnight one, yeah.
Scott started talking in the third person. Like,
We, the royal we. Yeah, no, it was crazy. I know I got a text from Morgan at, like 8:30 in the morning on the Friday.
right.
He's like, hey, what time does Endeavor open? It's like, it's a Friday, so we open at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 3, whatever it was. He's like, you might want to consider opening earlier. And I was like, is there something going on? And he was, the whole text chain was just, it was sort of like, well, can't really say anything, but half of the city of Columbus might be descending in your bar pretty soon. That kind of thing.
It'd be really unfortunate if you weren't open.
so
I'm like, I'm going to be there in 15 minutes, and it's like, it's literally like, so I got here and within, half an hour, there were a dozen, like the hardcore inner circle was in here at, 9:30, 10 in the morning. And then that just kind of grew and grew and grew. And
by 11, it was insane.
by 11.
I think that's about when we got here.
He texted me. So mind you, I'm hired as like GM. Like by that time I was general manager. I was hired there like 2 weeks prior to that. So I haven't experienced like the full Crew mentality here, and I wasn't sure what to expect from my text being like, hey, it might be like something crazy happening today. It might get busy. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I get texts from all of my bar staff who are plugged in, and they're just like, oh man, did you hear? It's going to be crazy. And I'm like, yeah. And I get like one extra person on board. I'm just like, you could have had everybody here. And I mean, it was just so much fun.
We put a tweet out at, like 10 a.m. or something like that. That was basically like, so we're open a little early today because we couldn't like say anything official, and then so Alexi Lawless retweeted that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
On like Nash, and it was nuts. And I remember at some point in the afternoon, like I had to go on a bank run before the bank closed on Friday to get more 1s and 5s as making change for all these shots and everything that was going around. And of course, soccer radio was just Sirius XM, soccer
Yeah.
radio was on my car anyway, because it's just on there a lot. I'm driving to the bank and they're talking about saving the crew being in process and at Endeavor Brewing in Columbus,
my
Ohio. And I'm
gosh.
like, it's this very surreal moment when like the national radio program name drops your brewery.
Did you feel like on so many levels you had made it?
I mean, as I went back to getting grubby ones and washing glasses for the rest of my birthday, you know what I mean? But it was, I don't know, it was just a very surreal kind of moment that it was hard to have a moment to take it all in. You know, luckily it slowed down a little bit and we kind of got caught up and just kind of got to get out a little bit and have a couple beers and kind of embrace the moment and talk to some of the people that were floating around. You know, when Dr. Pete showed up and the Haslam group and Alex Fisher, you know, everyone was just kind of hanging out there too. So
Wasn't Josh Williams also here?
He was.
Josh Williams, yes, yeah. It's, you know, the whole rebrand thing. You know, from my perspective, it's been interesting. You know, I think, you know, we always when something is new, the people that are passionate about things just don't like it. And so there's this automatic, sometimes overreaction to that. And even before they had released anything official, there was this massive reaction. And part of me was like, okay, how much of this is overreaction? How much of it is justified? And clearly there's a lot that's justified. But clearly some of it's overreacted because they didn't actually get to release anything.
Yeah.
You know, so I was always kind of balancing that.
Well, and I wrote something about earlier this week, and I gave it some thought about how I wanted to handle this. But, you know, one of the first things they said when they took over in January of 2019 and hired Tim Bezbachenko, who's the president and general manager from Toronto, one of the things he talked about extensively early on was like, we want to take risks. You know, we want to be a club that's not going to just, you know, follow the norm. We want to be ahead of things.
And that's on the field and off as well.
Correct. Yeah. And like Tim is a soccer guy and he's been put into a role. And I think that's kind of the next stage of your career. He helped build Toronto from a team that was a laughingstock in this league on the field to, you know, very good and winning an MLS Cup. And I quickly did that here too. So, you know, on the field, great. Off the field, I think most things have been done. I mean, you know, you look at what's being built downtown and you know, obviously there's a lot of moving parts there, but that's one of the things they talked about early on was we want to take risks and things like that. And so what I wrote was like, while they've done a lot of good things by taking risks, and like, you know, you look at this stadium, it doesn't look like a normal soccer stadium. You know, if you go look at what Austin and Cincinnati, who are both opening new stadiums this year.
Generic stadium.
Yeah, and like, not to take anything away, I think both those stadiums, from my understanding, at least the Cincinnati one, because I know a lot more about that, and like where it is and things like I think it's going to be an awesome, and they just had reporters kind of do a walkthrough and pictures I saw online. It looks great, but, you know, this stands out, and, you know, it'll be recognizable and identifiable as like whatever the name they give it, you know, the stadium for the crew in Columbus.
And the location.
I think it'll be a great thing.
Yeah,
for
It's
right,
Endeavor.
Columbus.
It's Endeavor Field. We haven't paid those millions of dollars yet.
But the thing
Should be. It should be.
Put it on the center circle.
The big thing to me is just like, you know, there was no need for this risk. You know, you know, like you just said, anytime you put something new out there, there's gonna be people that don't like it, and that generally, especially with fans of something, is going to be a bigger majority early on, and maybe more people get into it, and we'll see what happens with this. But, you know, you're about to move into this new stadium. You've built up so much goodwill with these people, even with the Nordic people who have been frustrated with some stuff. Like, they're still on, you know, a moment's notice. If they needed something, those guys are there. You know, whoever is that guy for whatever that situation is, they were there. And so to take this risk right before you move into this new stadium, to me, just, it's, again, going back to the timing of all of it, why take that risk? If you want to put your stamp on it, like I said earlier, there were ways you could make tweaks to the current logo or to the name. You know, the name's a touchy subject, but it's just weird. But I will say, and I tweeted this out after the game on Wednesday, I've been told that they have reached out to the Nordic people and are looking to figure something out. What that means, I don't know. You know, and I honestly don't know. But
I saw your tweet breaking that news, basically.
Yeah.
You know, just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and so, you know, I think that there's some understanding here that, okay, this was not at all. I think they fully expected there to be some backlash, but I think they thought most people would like it, and they have quickly realized. And obviously, they've met with the Nordex since then, and I don't think that meeting went well before it was officially announced. And so, I think that there's a realization here that okay, we need to do something. What that will be, I don't know if they're gonna.
Yeah, how in are they on this? I mean, can you turn back from this?
You can always turn back. I mean, it's just a matter of how you do it.
To kind of put, from my perspective, putting some balance to it. I don't think there was a malicious intent from ownership.
No, I
Agreed.
agree.
And so the complete deep hurt of they're trying to cut us out and alienate it. That to me feels like backlash. And let's all agree the logo's garbage. You know what I mean?
Not great.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't have that sense. But when they describe it in marketing terms, kind of the meta marketing of it, it's actually, I get what they're trying to do, and it's stuff that I've been saying since I became a soccer fan almost 20 years ago. My belief. So, I started being a soccer fan when I was living in Scotland. My flatmates taught me. Then I lived in Chile for 4 years.
Yeah, they just told you the wrong team.
And they told me the correct team, actually. But, that's touche. And so what I had said, with MLS, they started off from the beginning trying to take this game that we love, football, soccer, and Americanifying it, Murricking it, where we're not going to end a game in a draw or a tie. It's going to be finished, and we're going to do penalty kicks from midfield.
They Ted Lasso'd it.
They totally did. And, every team had this, cartoony mascot, like the Kansas City Wizards, and, stuff.
We were originally the Wiz.
The Wiz, yeah, exactly, and
Is that a Broadway play?
and the crew. So the crew name itself is both historically British. There are multiple British clubs called Crew and the Crew, kind of like a United would be or something like that. But then it was also a reference to the construction crews that are plaguing Ohio, hence the hard hats and the hardest working day, blah, blah, blah. So we kind of took something that was historically cool and normalized, but then made it cartoony and Americanized. And my whole point, and I've been making this point for decades, is that rather than try to Americanize something and make it just like any other American sport, soccer is the most followed and most popular sport in the world for good reason. Look at what they're doing everywhere else in the world. Follow that and let Americans come to it. Because when you go to it, you understand it better and you realize how wonderful it is in many ways. So this, if it's a step to truly try to emulate that to a degree, and I think the whole MLS in the last few years has been shifting that direction, I can get behind that. I can get behind the meta marketing of trying to do that. But what they actually did doesn't really accomplish that.
Yeah, and I think the to kind of play devil's advocate to what you're saying, I forget what the number is, but I think it's since the Portland Timbers came into the league, and I don't remember what year that was, but it's been a while now. And the Timbers and the Sounders both had history previous to MLS. They were essentially teams that existed for a long time with those names that
Much like Cincinnati.
Yeah, yeah. But since then, every team has been FC or SC, and it's just kind of
city name.
Right, yeah. And it's just kind of, and I completely get your point, but I think that there can be a balance of that, right?
100%.
And I think the biggest thing, and this was, Mark, fellow United fan who we all know, pointed this out to me, was that Save the Crew, they're talking about globalizing this team and making it. Save the Crew did that.
Yeah.
And I've heard a number of stories over the last few years of people across Europe, in South America, wearing Crew stuff and people yelling Save the Crew and recognizing, and some of that has to do, Guillermo Barros Schelotto, who was the MLS Cup MVP. And
I saw him play at Boca in Buenos Aires.
Wow, that's impressive.
Back in 2004, 5.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's awesome.
craziest place I've ever seen a soccer match.
He helped put that name, because he was a huge, he wasn't a Messi because he never, was a national team.
Stayed at Boca
Yeah.
in Buenos Aires.
Right. So he was an icon down there, whether you
Sort of
cheered
like
for that
Pele,
team or not.
stay on like Pele, stay on your home team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so that helped that made the Crew kind of recognized in at least Argentina and probably a little bit beyond there. But the Save the Crew movement really did kind of put this team on a map that, aside from maybe like the LA Galaxy and some of the players they've signed, and maybe, the New York team over the years, which has had multiple different
the new
names.
Miami Beckham,
Yeah, I'm not even counting. But those teams, I think if you were to walk around in Europe with the jersey of those, like people might recognize it, and not just another American fan, like somebody in Europe might recognize it. But the Crew now has kind of became that, and people recognized that logo, and it was it kind of stole the Bayern Munich look.
Their international fan club has been growing.
And too, what it gets to the working class roots of a city and a community saved a team. And, in most of the world, football, soccer is the working class sport.
Right.
It is the gritty. And here in the States, it's kind of an elitist sport.
Yes.
It's rich suburban kids playing on club
pay
traveling
to- yeah,
teams,
you have to pay to
and
do these.
over there, it's like, no, you need a dirt field and something that resembles a ball, and a lot of times no shoes, depending on where you are in the world. And that's a big reconciliation with American sports and soccer, I think.
But I think the point that Mark made that I hadn't considered yet was that, so this had already been globalized.
And Mark is a marketing guy.
Right,
he knows.
And that was his thing, was
deeply
we have so many people within the Save the Crew movement, within the fan base in general, that you could have utilized instead of, there's, and I haven't seen this confirmed anywhere, but there is a rumor, I guess you'd say, or a report that they went to this British company that they signed a deal with to help with jerseys and things like that in the future. I know that there was definitely some local input by people that work there and have helped with other stuff, but you had so many people that you could have brought in from the fan base that are marketing people or are graphic designers, and I think that's another thing where people feel like, you guys know who we are. Yeah. Literally, we've
and also
sat in
said when
meetings.
you started, like, we are here for the fans. We want to work with the fans. You had the opportunity, and you didn't do it.
And what Save the Crew proved was like this collection of people that you looked at this room and you're like, who are these idiots? But then like every single person was secretly a ninja and really good.
We
at
had
what
no idea.
And these
Yeah.
people did it with full-time jobs
with full-time jobs. Yeah, it's nuts. And
We don't ever talk about your full-time jobs when you're a drunken idiot in the parking lot.
of
Now
course
we know.
not. And I think that's a fantastic point that you bring up and that Mark brought up, and that to me is the single biggest mistake. I mean, the logo itself could have been much better. It's not very good, but dropping the name Crew when Save the Crew was the thing that put you on the mark globally, and
the whole explanation has been like, we're going to keep the Crew, right?
Yeah.
And they made the video that will always be the Crew. And, they want it to be, this has been described to me in several different ways, is like, so the Crew just played Monterrey, so that was on, and they're like, Rayados is their nickname. Yeah. And then I also was like, I was also told like, Arsenal and the Gunners, and, those names.
Liverpool and the Reds.
Right, yeah, and there were a couple others that were told to me. And
Newcastle and the Magpies.
Yeah, but those names happened artificially. It wasn't like the team was like, we're going to be called this. It was like America's Hardest Working Team. That was kind of created by the team at the beginning, but the black and gold has been the nickname that started artificially.
Massive, and like
stuff like that.
It's stuff, and it's the same with the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes were picked by a journalist describing them. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish was like a journalist in 18 whatever the hell describing them as like a bunch of Catholic boys. Oh, they're the Fighting Irish that won in the trenches on Right. Those names came about organically, and the European teams that have been around for more than a century. Yeah, they were Manchester United, they were Liverpool FC, they were Manchester City, they were Chelsea, the part of the cities that they were from.
Except Chelsea, which I learned recently is not even in Chelsea.
Yeah, well, they're just
Sorry,
Chopsky. They're in Russia. Oh, wait, did I say that? Oligarchs, whatever.
And even the Crew was, like, for people who weren't aware, the Crew was a fan-selected name. Back in 1994 when it was announced.
I remember that as a kid. And I do think, despite my being the outsider on this for sure, and despite my, where I place soccer, football, and my love of said games, I think getting to know the fans since I've worked here, no matter what, has made me appreciate, like, the love of the game and what that game represents to people, much more so than I'm going to go tailgate for said football game or so forth. Like, there is true heart. And, like, from very intelligent, well-minded people. And it's not just jumping on a bandwagon and so forth, which, yeah, that's where some of that passion and reaction comes from with the team. But that's also why you were able to save the crew. And, again, it's a different type of fan base than I feel that you see in any other sport. And I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely as an also outsider and also somebody who generally tried to not watch soccer in their life before meeting this man.
Are you a proponent of like the Simpsons soccer joke?
I'm aware. I do agree. But I've changed my ways. I'm a newborn soccer fan.
A born again.
A born again, as you will.
My old roommate would at any time I would talk about like the bar here and so forth. He's like, "Oh yeah, you love soccer, right?" And he would send me that like Simpsons play where it's
Is
like
this Evan?
No, Alan.
Oh, Alan.
He's like, "Oh, he passes center, passes over right."
Right. And still, when Pat's putting games on at 6:30 in the morning, I don't feel especially akin to this sport. But you're right. Like the true like supporters, and many of them are like my good friends now, and that's not a support level you find.
Well, you follow the game for the season, like, or the team, or so you start to really truly appreciate what it means to
You do.
get that goal. Why? There's a reason. It's like goal.
Yes. Such a big accomplishment, and you get it, and it's not like football where you probably should score on most drives.
Well, it depends on who you are.
Baker Mayfield forever.
Did I?
He does believe.
Oh wait, no. I got a sense
here.
of silence from that statement. Are you not a Browns fan?
Oh
over here?
no!
I'm not a Browns fan. I don't have any issues with the Browns. I just
Except that all his friends would rather watch the Browns than the Rams.
well, that's fine. I don't expect anything.
Yeah,
else.
so being a St. Louis guy, are you still in LA Rams?
Yeah, it didn't change anything for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He's also a Lakers guy, so it really just
Yeah.
conglomerated everything.
Yeah,
Put
I mean
everything
the
right
Lakers thing was full bandwagon when I was a kid.
Yeah, Magic, or were you?
No, that was
Magic.
That was the Kobe Shaq
Kobe.
years.
Yeah.
You're Kobe, baby.
Yeah,
Can anybody be mad at you?
Right.
not recently. I mean, back in.
Oh no!
I don't know if that was the right one even.
What would you suggest?
I don't know all of your pads over there. We might have to add some new terms for these.
He's going in the Hall of Fame tomorrow, by the way.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I heard
That's
it.
great.
I heard that.
The Rams thing, I was a St. Louis Rams fan when I lived there, and then I moved to Columbus, and they were on TV some around when they won the Super Bowl in '99, and then went in '01, and then after that they weren't on TV very much, and my parents weren't paying for
DirecTV.
yeah, like it was, So
NFL
now it's
Sunday ticket.
yes, and I wasn't going to bars back then. So yeah, it actually made it more accessible to me when they moved to Los Angeles. At that point, I was an adult though, and could afford to pay for the ability to watch them or find ways to watch them otherwise. But yeah, it didn't directly impact me. And I also, people have asked me like, well, the crew and like, how can you justify those two things? And I'm like, well, people in St. Louis, like there definitely were Rams fans, but like there was a reason to move that, and some of that was stadium related, but they
Unlike
weren't getting
Browns
the support.
leaving.
Right. It wasn't the same as that. Yeah. There were definitely people in St. Louis that were pissed about it, but it wasn't, any sort of backlash like you've seen from, clearly the crew, but like, and the crew is in a whole different, the everything that Save the Crew did is in its own realm. But even other cities that have lost their team that have responded, even for MLS people, the San Jose Earthquakes moved to Houston back in the day, and like it was immediately clear that they needed to bring a San Jose team back into the league, and it didn't take long till they did. So
The
It's
Browns
similar to
leaving.
the Browns too.
yeah, right.
That was where I drew my empathy for the Save the Crew movement.
100%.
Yep. I feel like living in Ohio, every single person felt a bit of that.
Yes.
Well, and
Yeah.
that
Yes.
that law that
Yeah.
was passed because of that
Yeah,
was
the Modell.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
And that helped from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, it certainly played its part. I don't,
For sure. It at least delayed the process
Yes.
and opened the window for other things to happen.
Thank you.
Now, is that another honey
Thank you,
badger?
Ryan.
That's
It
for
is.
Sean. you want one?
I'm okay for meow.
I'm just trying to seem all masculine. I get it.
Did I catch a meow in there?
I had a bet with the bar staff I could slip 4 in before you guys noticed.
How many was that?
I think I did 3 total. That
We're
was
gonna
like
rewind.
there was one early on that I snuck in, and I was like,
Play it back.
yeah. Oh. Anyway, yeah, I got 2. Whatever. We'll tell them it's 4.
That was well done, man.
It was.
Thank you, Mel.
Twas. That's awesome. Cheers, everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers.
New drink for Sarah.
Would recommend the honey badger.
Kind of look people in the eyes.
Look people intensely.
Maybe touch the bar.
Unsure if we're supposed to touch the bar or not.
Do you want me to pour my beer in your drink?
I like your cheers more than anything because it's not like it's like right through the soul. Like.
I know all your inner secrets.
Yeah. In fact, that's how I'm going to cheers people from now on. They're like, cheers. I'll just be like, they'll be like, oh no, maybe not him. Don't cheers him at the wedding.
The demonic laughter. Oh man, this is awesome. All right, we've only got about 10 minutes left or so, but let's change it up a little bit. What do you guys want to talk about?
Talk about Sarah's nursing stuff. You said you wanted to talk about
Yes,
that.
that's a great idea.
100%. Yeah. Fantastic. And what's your everything? Just give us your take on this year, nursing in general.
Year. Yeah. So I was very lucky. While I am an ICU nurse, our ICU, we are specific to the James, so all of our patients have cancer. So ideally, you wouldn't bring COVID in to that kind of ICU.
Ideally, you wouldn't bring it anywhere.
Truth. But it was overtaking a lot of ICU beds, and I think that I was probably in the lucky group that did not have to deal with it directly face-to-face. So, all of our patients got tested, and there was a lot of PPE and a lot of changing policies constantly.
And that's just because of the immune system stuff,
Yes,
right?
yeah, it's just because of their immune systems. They've got no immune system left, and if you were to bring COVID into the bed next door, I don't know that there's any way a nurse could have properly, covered themselves in PPE and then gone next door and 100% known they wouldn't have given it to that next patient. So Ohio State did a great job and kept it out of our ICU. But what that meant was the other ICUs were essentially all COVID. And all of their patients were COVID positive patients. And we watched, our fellow nurses just deal with that, and on an emotional level and a psychological level, that was so much for all of them. And our job was to overtake everybody that wasn't COVID positive. Anybody that tested negative came into our ICU. So it changed our outlook a lot on, what we're doing day to day, different kinds of patient diagnoses and treatment plans. And so it was kind of everybody in the hospital working to just get it done. It was your staffing numbers are going to be low. You just put your head down and you get it done. And the most difficult part was probably the community reaction negatively. Those people who were, this isn't real, or
The QAnon supporters.
the one and the same. But it was just, it was very disheartening to, go into work every day and feel like I'm stressed and anxious on a personal level and also for all of my patients, and none of their families can be there. No one who's in an ICU has a great outcome projection, and for them to do it alone and to tell their families over the phone what's going on is very tough. So for everyone in the community that felt like it was a hoax, or it was being covered up, this whole treatment, or it was brought in intentionally, I guess my point was, I don't really care how it was brought in. This is what's happening. And to not support your healthcare workers or the patients, was very tough. So I do think I'm very lucky to live in such a progressive city. I think Columbus is a very progressive city. And it did feel generally supportive here. But some of my friends who live in, Worcester, Ohio, it was a little rough. And they got a lot of, hate for just going into work and trying to do their jobs.
Yeah. My grandfather's from Worcester, Ohio, actually.
It's a tough community during
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the rural Ohio.
Yeah. And it was
Stereotype,
also sad to just like understand that people really felt that way. They felt like they could not trust, this scientific community and the leaders and
That college produces great scientists, though. Worcester's a great college.
it is.
Oh,
it is
yeah, it's
actually.
absolutely a fantastic
Yes.
I don't want to take away from like that when we talk about rural Worcester. Liz.
No. And there's also always like people in rural communities that are standing up for, the scientific side of things. And a bunch of our coworkers actually drive an hour to get to work. And I mean, that speaks to a lot of what it is to work at Ohio State. It's a great place to work. But those people were coming into work and fighting this head on, and they'd go home to these rural communities that just did not want to support, what they were going in to do. So I think that was really the toughest part of all of it. But
Yeah, I mean, you have a draining when you go in and having to deal with that.
Yeah.
And then off work, you're having to deal with a different type of drain.
yeah, I mean, even just like going to the grocery store and you're just like, I just want this to be over. My job is so much harder than it needs to be. And if you would just put your mask above your nose, maybe things would be different. So I think that was the tough part. Is I feel like nursing in general is a pretty like respected and appreciated career, and it really got flipped on its head this year in a lot of communities.
And then with those people who, again, jumped on the bandwagon of jumping on conspiracy theories, I specifically at this bar had a nurse come up to me when during that, like one of my first weeks during the restriction during COVID, and say to me, hey, because I had asked her to put her mask on when she's going to the restroom, and she just went on a rant about how it was all a hoax and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I was like, personal politics aside, I have a liquor license. We have to protect. We have other customers. Like,
There are
you need to be
mandates by the state of Ohio.
You need to be
we have to follow.
respectful of those things. So, but it was surprising to me seeing somebody that was in that field that literally has been, I'm like, aren't you a scientist?
I would be lying if I said that every one of my coworkers agreed with me on all of this.
And that's what's, I mean, the most disheartening thing is when you have people that work in the field and are actually seeing this, then they're coming out
And have access to all the information.
and even some doctors that are out there and some and
It's honestly surprising how far like a bad seed can really spread.
yeah.
Because, I mean, I would say 85% of nurses agree with science, and that one is the one you remember.
Well, we all have one of those friends.
we do.
And that one doctor is the one that went viral.
Yeah.
And that's been the tough part. But I do really feel like we have turned a corner. And I feel that way specifically in this community. I don't know that I can speak that way for the entire nation, but I think Columbus has done a great job of vaccinating and accepting vaccinations. And I finally feel a sense of kind of calm moving forward.
And this might be outside of your wheelhouse, but for people listening that might be interested in, the future of where the vaccinations and so forth are going, do you have any updates as far as boosters or other shots developing in the future for variants? Do you think that this will be something that we have to have seasonally, like a flu shot?
So I don't know anything officially.
Well, your answer is absolutely going to be taken as facts. So whatever you say, you are a local epidemiologist and virologist.
I think my gut feeling does tell me that a booster probably makes sense. At this point, it feels to me, after a full round of vaccinations for a large number of people in this community, it feels more like a flu to me, where like, yes, it still exists, but less people are coming into the hospital.
Yeah, and now do you think that booster is like a one-time thing, or do you think this will be like a seasonal?
My gut tells me a seasonal thing, but again, I don't know anything about it. I know Ohio State specifically is doing a bunch of research on that right now, and especially on the variants. They've got their hands on some variants from India who's struggling right now, and they're doing a lot of testing.
What amazes me, the efficacy of the vaccines that we have, and most people, if you don't know, when you get your flu shot, your efficacy is anywhere between 9% to 18% on a great year.
Yeah.
So the fact that we are taking a vaccine that is over 95% effective is absolutely astounding.
And that vaccine is held to these standards where people are saying this was done too quickly. This was done cutting corners.
But it's been done.
It's a bureaucratic thing that we cut down. It's how we should be pipelining true cures. And there are things like that right now that exist that we are holding up because of those bureaucrats.
And I have a background in biology, so to me it really interests me from a biological point of view.
I would agree. I also feel very interested by all of it.
And it's sort of like this has been something that research has been going on for years into those vaccines because of a upper pulmonary coronal type of virus. And so they've been working on them for a long time. It's not like it was just new, but then they started parallel research and trials as opposed to linear. Exactly. And that's really what kind of compressed the timeline.
Hey, we're going to do the things that we do at the instead of A to B to C to D, we're acting like a quantum computer and we're attacking multiple points
at the same timeline, and therefore they can compress the time period. And the science is really cool. And anytime you're taking a vaccine, anytime you're doing anything, science by definition will never have an absolute answer. Because it's about asking questions and coming to the best possible conclusion over time. And you can
Which
always...
then lead to more questions.
Which then lead to more questions, and you're always constantly reassessing and readdressing and improving. And that is what science is. So anytime there's an absolute 100% black and white answer, that is not science.
That's probably incorrect.
It's probably incorrect. Period. It's
words like never or always, not in science.
Not in science, not in real life.
Yeah.
It just doesn't apply.
Yeah. And it is so interesting because when this first started coming out and they're talking about a coronavirus, specifically as an oncology nurse, I've been dealing with coronaviruses for as long as I've been a nurse and for hundreds of years, and it was the common cold. That is a coronavirus.
Of course.
And am I correct? Am I incorrect in stating there have been, like at least this year, they're expecting with the vaccine or protections and things that people have been taking, the common cold this year is supposed to be the lowest it's been in decades. Correct.
And especially in the flu.
Well. Yep.
And so that was a big thing when all of this was coming out and it was flu season and every
the protection that we've taken for COVID might end up saving thousands of people's lives during flu season just from the flu then too.
I do think that's something that we will take from this is that you may be asked to wear a mask at some facilities or some...
Well, and they talked just the other day when they were announcing, or I forget what news thing I was watching about it, but like there was talk about, maybe it's a seasonal thing going forward wearing masks, whereas like, okay, late spring, summer, early fall, go do whatever you want type of thing. But when we get into the late fall, winter, you might have to wear masks when we come into it,
And most people don't know from a hospital perspective, flu season is September through March.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is September through March. So like it is a much longer flu season than most people are familiar with.
For sure.
And
I remember being young, and when I first started traveling internationally, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been a lot of places around the world, been fortunate, done a lot of things. And I remember when I was literally, 19, 20 years old, flying to some cool places, and I would see it was always the Asian person in the airport wearing a mask. And being a young asshole, I would see that person like, why is that person so afraid of getting sick and what are they doing and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, same here.
And around the time that I was 2021, a friend of mine, a Danish guy actually caught me and said, and I expressed that to him, I was like, what are they afraid of? And he said, no, do you realize that person is not wearing a mask
for themselves.
They have a cold or they are feeling not right. So they're wearing a mask to protect you. And I was like, I'm the asshole. Holy shit. Like that was my xenophobia, breaking down, you know what I mean? And that's the sort of thing where like wearing a mask is not about you.
It does almost about nothing for you.
Everyone else. And so that's the kind of thing that like if we can embrace that if you have a sniffle or you have, I don't know if it's allergies, I don't know if it's just a cold, I don't know what the hell, whatever this is, I'm going to put a mask on. When I go to the grocery store, to the airport, to the hardware store, to the bar, because I'm looking out for everyone around me.
Right.
And as our population gets more city-based and more denser, that type of respect for your common neighbor is important.
It's really the only thing that's going to prevent another pandemic.
I mean, nothing's going to prevent another
Well, yes.
pandemic.
Correct. Well, I think if we could get everybody on the same page, we potentially could, but I think there's a 0% chance we get everybody on the same page.
For sure. And we have to reassess our ideals of population growth. Am I accurate? Science-wise,
No.
Armchair physicist. Love biology. My least is chemistry. It's just I had a horrible chemistry teacher in high school. But
I'm so sorry because I love chemistry.
Blame it on the teacher.
I do. All right. I love because trust me, my love of physics stems from Arjun Haq, who was the greatest teacher I ever had in my entire
How great of a name is that?
That is a good one.
Even better, her son is named Awesome. His name is Awesome Hawk.
That is really good.
I hope that kid is having an awesome life.
I know he is. Anyway, so is it true, though, that most people don't think it like, oh, your seasonal flu, why is it seasonal, so forth? It's because it's an avian flu, right? It's about the migration of birds, and that's where your flu seasons come from, correct?
I do think that is correct. I don't know that I've ever actually read anything on that, but yes. And I also think a lot of it is as the cold comes in, there are more, from an avian standpoint, there are more things to combat with from a bacterial viral level. And then also you're dealing with all of those when your body is cold, it is already working to keep itself warm. So those energy levels that would have been working usually just in your immune system are doing other things.
Well,
so
and your
it's kind
immune
of like
system is constantly fighting. Your
Yes.
immune system is a constant juggernaut from the day you're born till the day you die.
Yes.
Improving, failing, doing some good things. But yeah, most people think of
Constantly
it
learning.
as only working when it's like, oh, I'm getting sick. Oh, my immune system's acting. But it's always doing something.
Yeah, if you had a perfect
Constantly.
immune system, you'd never notice it.
Yeah.
But it would be always
You'd be me.
working. Yes. You would be Patrick Murphy and his O blood.
He's pretty much just perfect to begin with.
I could be a little taller, as we
And you kind of got that quasi ginger daywalker thing going on too. So, you know,
Dude,
it's like,
he's been
you know.
slamming this whole he's trying to make everyone a ginger recently, I tell you.
Did you see his beard? You haven't seen the beard yet.
Oh,
Just
it's-
wait.
My brother used to get a red beard. If you have a
Yeah.
red beard, I think it's awesome. I'm excited to see it.
Yep.
So
Your brother's son is a full-on ginger.
No, he's not. You know what Michelle said? Michelle admitted to that. But I have another.
Full-on
I
ginger.
have another thing to add to how unique and amazing my nephew is.
Yeah, he's an amazing
Are you
kid.
ready?
Yeah.
So my nephew not only has strawberry blonde hair, or I guess you could say red hair. Ginger. Okay. And blue eyes, which is the most odd traits to combine in a human, the most unique.
Ginger.
He is also, I noticed when we were at Mother's Day brunch the other day, he's left-handed.
Yeah,
He's
my
a
son fits
genetic
as
gold mine.
full-on left-handed too.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Your nephew's
Crazy.
a genetic gold mine.
Dude, he is. He is. Oh, wow. Look at that beard.
That
you
was
didn't
at
think
the
it
end.
was going to be that bad, did you?
Oh, my God. You look like Will Arnett and like the last man on earth.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the day of the shaving process.
Dude, that is a sweet beard. I'm jealous at how, like, yeah, man. I want to go straight
It's
caveman.
like Wilson.
Can I go straight?
is
Will you
like
will you
Wilson.
keep me will you keep me on staff if I go caveman, Scott? Yeah.
There's one better. Swipe one more.
Make sure when
No,
you
the other
make
way.
sure when you show the camera you do your cheers face.
Yeah, there it is.
We had a real discussion about the beard I don't know.
Did you like
8?
it? Okay. Did you like it at all?
So,
Be
yes, there was a
honest.
point in this beard where it was phenomenal. It was great. It shaped itself.
Did you like kissing it? Was it okay?
It was all right. We trimmed the mustache. That was the whole thing. I was in charge of trimming
Oh,
the
she
mustache.
did do that. She literally would take scissors and just like
Correct.
That
Suture
trim
scissors.
there. That was the only thing I allowed to be done.
That's
Otherwise,
a health, dude. That is
suture
a
scissors.
that's a
Did you
relationship.
take the opportunity and suture
I
the
didn't.
lips?
I
Because
didn't.
you know,
That's a that's a healthy relationship, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, we had
she
to adjust
also
the mustache.
she also cuts my hair.
I do.
Wait, are you guys married?
No.
we are not.
All right. I expect to be invited to the wedding. I'll wear the same shirt.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that would be
We'll have to take a picture and make sure
conditional for
that's-
your invite would be that you had to wear this shirt.
really. Well, guys, sadly, we are out of time, actually.
That went very
Went by
fast.
way too
It's
fast. yeah.
gone by way, way, way too fast. But anyway, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks for
Pat,
having
Thank
us.
you.
Sarah,
Yeah.
Sean.
Thank you, Scott.
It's been really fun here at Endeavor BS. Again, the BS stands for Brewing and Spirits. No other possible interpretation for that. We'll see you again next week, next Friday. It's going to be fun.